And welcome to Create Today. We will make this bunny card with the daffodil paper. The first thing that we'll need to do is emboss our background panel. So I need to bring in my emboss machine here. And we will use the ornate floral embossing folder. And I'm adding my paper to the folder. I usually line it up on the black line. In this case, it didn't make much difference if I did that or not. And go ahead and get my sandwich made. And here we go with the reveal. Beautiful. Look at that. Okay, that is all we will need our emboss machine for, so let me get that out of the way. And the first thing I'm going to do is sponge or ink sponge the edges of this panel. I want to give some dimension to those embossed flowers, show them off a bit. And I just sponge around here a little bit. Just helps you be able to see those florals some. Okay, we need to stamp our bunny. To give the bunny a little bit more of a rustic look, I'm going to stamp the bunny on pattern paper. This is the daffodil pack that's available right now. Stamp that with the dark green ink. Let me just air dry this real quick, make sure that I don't have anything wet, and let me have a little go around with my snips. Okay, here I need to make a heart shape for the bunny to hold. So I just take a scrap of paper, fold it in half, and cut a heart shape. I decided my indent at the top wasn't indented enough, so I just fold it in half and trim it a little bit more. And perfect. Next, I need to sponge everything, really play up that rustic bunny feel with the pattern paper and some sponging of the edges. This is really a fun little bunny to stamp with. He's not just for Easter. Okay, I'm sponging my heart. And then I will adhere the heart to the bunny with some wet glue. Just get this in here until I'm happy with it. Make sure everything's flat. Okay, I'm going to put a bow on the bunny's head. I'm just using this ribbon that is available in the current half catalog, and just tying a little bow. You see how rustic and fun this ribbon is? It's really kind of cool, but it's messy. You can't be afraid. You can't be afraid to snip it and play with it a little bit. Okay, so I'm just trimming this a little bit smaller. The bow is probably a tad big for my bunny stamp, but that doesn't deter me. Wipe all my bits out of the way. The best thing, I think, is to attach the bow with wet glue. If you have some double-sided tape, you could probably use that as well. And I'll just put the block there for the glue to dry. Here's a close-up. What a sweet, sweet bunny. Okay, I pushed this out of the way, and I need to do the sentiment. And I realize I'm using the sentiment stamp to hold the bow in place on the bunny. So I need to switch blocks quickly. I guess first I had to go get some scrap paper. This is just some vanilla cardstock. And stamp this. My ink pad is pretty juicy, so I've got to give everything just a minute to soak in. And when I close that ink pad, I got ink on my thumb right here. So I'm trying to cut this out without putting my fingerprint all over the sentiment. So I'm wiping my thumb off here, and then I'm going to try it again. Now I'm just cutting this sentiment down, and I'm going to use it in bits. I don't worry in the least about getting perfect rectangles. I'm just cutting down to frame the sentiment itself. And then I'll sponge the edges, and once you do that, you don't have to worry about having straight edges. You won't be able to tell once everything is sponged. It will look as it's supposed to look. Okay. Quick sponge. The ink off my fingers, and I think I am ready to put my card together. So I've got a card base, my embossed panel, my vellum panel, and my bunny. So I'm trying to decide how I'm going to put this together here. Right to left or left to right. It's different every time. Okay, I'm going to adhere this daffodil paper to the green panel. And I do go ahead and cover it with a piece of vellum. If you put the bunny directly on those daffodils, it gets busy. And I wanted to highlight the bunny. So by adding the vellum panel, you still get the beauty of the daffodil paper, but the focus will stay on the bunny. You do need to use wet glue here because that embossed panel has too many low areas. So go ahead and use wet glue to adhere the daffodil or the vellum panel to the card, to the embossed panel. But then you can go ahead and use the seal to adhere the panel to your card. That way on the inside front of your card you won't have any hills and valleys. Alright, I use wet glue to add the bunny. Got a little carried away with the glue there, but it worked out okay. I must have inked my stamp pad in between making these two cards. The second one is definitely more saturated than the first. Okay, and I realize at this point that I've got some adhesive showing through that vellum. So I'm going to just cover that with part of the sentiment. So I go ahead and cut down the sentiment strips a tad bit more, sponge the edges where I cut, and there you go. I've got my vellum covered. So now I need to add the sentiment strips. I don't fuss too much with the placement. For this card, I'm just trying to line them up on the left as much as possible. But they're all a bit wonky. Okay, what rustic card is rustic without some linen thread? So I'll wrap this around. It's a little loose on the card, so let me tighten that up just a little bit. Alright, and I'll do my bow. Couldn't decide where I wanted the bow. I ended up moving it up. I don't think it matters. I was going to try to line it up with the other bow, but then I thought, well, that might look weird. Trim off my extra. I do like to tie a little extra knot with these thin threads just in case. And there we go. Chubby bunny. How sweet is this? Sending warm and happy wishes this spring. Thanks for joining. Have a great day.